California lilacs come in many forms. Let's listen in as Bob Perry, landscape architect and author of a number of books on California natives, talks about some of his favorite selections.
We're really fortunate today to have with us Bob Perry, who's a landscape architect and a really wonderful author of books on native plants and on drought-tolerant plants. And they're always my favorite. And so we're glad to have you here, Bob.
Thank you, Susan.
And so today we're going to talk a little bit about Ceanothus.
That's right. It's one of my favorite plant groups in California. It's a plant group that's indigenous to North America with about 50 species, of which 41 are found in California and are well adapted to many parts of our state.
Yeah.
And I selected this group because I find within it so many choices for landscape uses, particularly at a residential scale, that I'd like to just talk about today.
Yeah. Well, we have a few here. You want to tell us about this one?
Yes, I've put together a number of plants I'd like to talk about, including this Ceanothus thursiflorus variety, Griseus horizontalis, Yankee Point.
That's a mouthful.
It sure is. And equal to that long name is the success of this plant as a large spreading ground cover. It's one of the plants that will be able to cover large slopes and banks and in that way provide for erosion control on one hand. To characteristic of the Ceanothus are the dark green leaves and the springtime flowers that they just produce in great abundance.
Yeah, and those are blue, right, on
Yes,
this one?
They're very nice deep powder blue, which I find to be stunning, particularly since they cover the whole plant.
Wow, yeah.
And in this sense, looking at it, it shows you a plant that at first, at this point, looks maybe small and undeveloped, but it's a robust grower like most Ceanothus, so don't be put off by the simple sparseness of the appearance at this point.
Well, now this is a Ceanothus. It looks very small. Does it stay small?
No, it doesn't. This is a wonderful sprawling plant that will grow very quickly like most Ceanothus do and cover actually 12 to 15 feet in width, grow 3 to 4 feet in height.
Wow.
And again, is a choice that we might consider for large banks, slope areas, put in the background, and used particularly for the seasonal flowering that occurs in early spring. A light blue flower covers this plant. It's long and cylindrical, perhaps 2 inches.
What's its name?
This is Ceanothus Joyce Coulter. It's one of my favorite. I use it a lot in landscaping because I find it very garden tolerant and highly adaptable.
Yeah, we've used it at the garden here, and it is a wonderful plant.
Yes.
And so then you have something that, again, doesn't look so great in the container, but you want to tell us about that?
Yes, I've selected this plant because I find it to be one of the premier mounding shrubs that will grow 6 to 8 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet wide, and produce deep purple-blue flowers in the spring. And it's a large, large mound. And so when we think about background areas or on slopes or mixed native plantings, this Ceanothus concha, as it's known, is one of the premier plants, introduced in the late 1940s, early 1950s.
Wow.
Spectacular choice.
So what sorts of insects do these plants attract?
Well, they attract a wide variety, and without being too specific on that, what we generally find is they invite the beneficial types of insects that we would hope to have in our garden for just diversity in that regard too, because that's sometimes our best defense and approach to dealing
pests.
with avoiding pests.
Yeah, and this one has a very different leaf type.
It does, and some people might be able to look at it and understand from the beginning that this actually has some good drought tolerance by having small leaves and therefore a smaller surface area to lose moisture. This Ceanothus dark star is perhaps considered to be the most stunning and colorful of all Ceanothus cultivars, and is a large mounding shrub, 8 to 10 feet tall, similar in width. And this is a remarkably healthy and robust specimen, growing in a deep 1-gallon container, so its root system will not be constricted at this size and age, and it's really ready to go in the ground and to just start growing immediately.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is.
And that's a real deep blue, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's I call it purple blue, very much so.
And then I noticed that we have two that you told me were the same, but they look so different. Could you tell me about this?
Well, I can. This is our largest Ceanothus, the Ceanothus Ray Hartman, a plant that's capable of growing into a tree 25 feet tall,
Wow.
equal in width. If we don't train it as a tree, it's a large shrub of that size, but its capacity to grow that large makes it very desirable as a single trunk or a low branching tree. Allows you to put other plants underneath it for a nice design composition, and by and large is a plant with large clusters of flowers, 5 inches in size, where multiple
goodness.
flowers just
Yeah.
group together, deep medium blue, and a plant that most people consider to have almost the highest garden tolerance of any that we've just talked about.
Yeah.
Now, one point to stress here is you go to a nursery and you have a choice of selecting one or the other for your garden.
Well, this one's bigger.
Well, it certainly is bigger, but it's common to what happens where larger plants often are in small containers, and therefore the roots tend to get crowded, root bound, and very often you take a plant like this, put it in the ground, and it never recovers from those early stages of root coiling and development like that.
So this would make a better choice.
This would make a better choice. It will grow even faster than this will and become better established over time.
So if I'm looking between a 1 gallon and a 5 gallon, what should I go for?
Well, with Ceanothus, for as quickly as they grow and large as they become, I always go for the 1 gallon. Very seldom would I recommend a 5 gallon plant in this particular genus of plants.
Yeah, they're really fast.
More information on native plants is available at the Grow Native Nursery, located in the Rancho Santa Ana Botanic Garden in Claremont, California.